Shnayim Mikra, the Bible translated. This is Bezalel Edwards doing an on-the-spot, unprepared translation of the verse in the Torah, and Rashi, the classic commentary on the Torah, and a few words from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. May his merit protect us. We're in the book of Leviticus, chapter 10, verse 16. Ve'et se'ir chatat darosh darash Moshe v'hine soraf vayiksof al Elazar va'al Itamar b'nei Aharon anotarim lemor ve'et se'ir hachatat darosh darash Moshe v'hine soraf Vayiksof al Elazar v'al Itamar b'nei Aharon anotarim lemor. And Moses thoroughly investigated the sin offering, the goat sin offering. Moses thoroughly investigated the sin offering of the goat, and it was burned. And he became wroth with Elazar and Itamar, the sons of Aaron, who had remained. And Moses said, and here's Rashi. You can't understand the verse without Rashi. So what does Rashi say? He says that this is referring to the goat of the additional offering, the musaf of Rosh Chodesh, the new moon. There's a special offering on the new moon. And there were 3 goat sin offerings that were offered on that self-same day. There was a goat was offered, and the goat of Nachshon, of the prince of the tribe of Shimon, was offered, and the goat of the new moon. Those were the 3 that were offered on that day. And the only one that was burned, that the sons of Aaron burned, the remaining sons of Aaron burned, was the goat sin offering. So the sages of Israel were divided. What else is new? Sages of Israel. Well, sometimes they would come together, and that became the halacha, but they had varying interpretations as to what is going on here. Some said that the question is, why was it burned? So there's a number of answers. They weren't divided against each other, just were offering different possible interpretations of why the goat sin offering was burned and why Moses became upset. Or even, I wouldn't say angry, I would say wrathful. It never says in the Torah that Moses gets angry. The word for anger does not appear regarding Moshe. It always says yiksof. And this is a parenthesis, this is a footnote that's not germane to the Rashi here, but it's more of a musar thing. That anger is there's a special word vayiksof used for when Moshe became seriously upset about something, but it never says he gets angry. So Moses was wroth, and that they had burned it. So some say it was burned because they said we're in a state of mourning, and that disqualifies the offering, so it must be burned. Because this is and they reasoned, the sons of Aaron reasoned, that this is a sacrifice for all generations. So this sacrifice, they said this goat sin offering is an offering that will be offered in all generations. So because we are mourners and we disqualified it, it's a disqualified offering and must be burnt. But a temporary, one-time offering, regarding any temporary offering, they relied on Moshe. Where Moses said already regarding the grain offering, the mincha, eat it bake it into matzahs and eat it, even though you're mourners. So, again, now Rashi asked the question, Darosh Darash Moshe. This is a very unusual language in the Bible. It's an intensive language. We find intensive language all over the place, where it repeats the word to intensify. It means he deeply and intensely investigated. Darosh Darash. So, but here the sages interpret this. Rashi usually is not giving his own original interpretation. 99% of the time, Rashi is quoting the tradition that he thinks is the best interpretation of the verse. So here, it's saying that it repeats the word investigate twice, darosh, darash. It repeats it twice to say that there were two investigations. So, the first investigation is why was it burned? So it's like in the army when you have a breach, some kind of malfunction, some kind of breach of conduct, anything that happened. Then our investigators come in and they have to do a thorough investigation of why something happened to prevent it from happening again. So Moses was doing the same kind of thing. So first of all, why did they burn it? And the second one is, why did they eat it? Why did they burn this one, and why did they eat the other ones? That comes from the Torah Kohanim, the Midrash Halacha, the legal Midrash on the book of Leviticus, all dealing with the laws pertaining to the priests in the temple. Val Elazar, Val Itamar. So Rashi seizes upon the words the sons of Aaron, and he adds that when it says he became wroth with Elazar and with Itamar, in honor of Aaron, Rashi adds. He became wroth with Elazar and Itamar in honor of Aaron. So he turned his face to his sons, meaning he didn't get angry at Aaron in order to honor Aaron, because he's supposed to honor the high priest. That's the one who gets the most honor. So he could not show any dishonor to the high priest, to Aaron, not only the high priest, but the high priest of all times, the paramount high priest of all times, Aaron a Cohen, his brother. So he, instead of turning to Aaron, he turns to his sons, and Rashi does say vakas, which again I say Rashi in the commentary could say it, but I'm going back to my musar, my ethical instruction about anger and anger management, where we say don't say the word from this word that Rashi uses, we don't find in the verse. Rashi is explaining the word using a different word. Rashi is clearly not concerned with my own anger management teaching. So, and it says, then the Rashi asks the question, why does it have to say lemor in the verse? So the verse said, well, again, and the goat offering, Moses investigated greatly, and Rashi said that was two investigations. Why was it burnt, and why were the other ones eaten? Why was this one not eaten? The one that was burned was not eaten, and it was burned, and the verse says, and Moses became very wroth with Elazar and with Itamar, Aaron's sons, who had remained to say. So there's a question, why does the Torah go out of its way to use these words, to say? It didn't have to say to say. Sometimes it says it, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it uses different words. There's nothing is extraneous in the Torah. Every word means something. So Rashi says, why does it say lemor, to say? Because he said to them, and he said, to say as if to say a reason for why you did what you did. Explain yourselves. This was Moses was hot under the collar, and he demanded an explanation from Itamar and Elazar and Itamar as to why they did what they did. That's why the verse says lemor. Now the Lubavitcher Rebbe says that how Moses became wroth with Elazar and Itamar. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe, of blessed memory, the holy tzaddik, and the great Rebbe of the previous generation, and perhaps many generations, said in the parsha called Matot, in Parshat Matot, Rashi explains that he became wroth. Yes, another place Rashi seizes upon what I was talking about. How it says Yiktsof when he became wroth. It doesn't say he became angry. He did not come into anger. Because anyone who gets angry makes a mistake. So when it says Vayiksof, he became wroth, he is not getting angry, because if somebody gets angry, they make a mistake. But then the Baruch Shekivanti, blessed is, we say a special blessing when you preempt the question of a great Rav. So the great Rebbe of Lubavitcher, Menachem Mendel Schneerson, asked the same question. Why does Rashi use the word anger here, kas, different, not wrath, but anger, kas, when explaining this verse, but later in Parshat Matot, later in the Torah, he will say, no, he didn't get angry, because if he got angry, he would have made a mistake. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe answers that the difference between temporary sacrifices and sacrifices for all generations is something that's dependent upon how you reason it. So in other words, like a command, did Elazar and Itamar made a command decision about what to do with the sacrifice. It could be that the dispute was because that the two people's opinions weren't the same. Maybe Elazar saw it one way, Itamar saw it another way. Moses saw it one way. They all saw it a different way. That makes a dispute when you have different opinions about what's the truth and what should be done. People get very, very intense about these things at times. It could lead to anger. So it's not because one of them was mistaken. Lubavitcher Rebbe says it's not because Elazar was wrong or Itamar was wrong. I guess Elazar and Itamar are in a unit. They unanimously decided, we're going to burn it. It's disqualified. And Moses said, no, you shouldn't have burned it. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe is saying that because of the ambiguity between the law of a one-time sacrifice in the tabernacle and a sacrifice that will be for all generations in the tabernacle and in the temple for all generations, we should be rebuilt speedily and in our days so we can continue. That it's because it's not that one of them is wrong, it's that it's just because they saw it different ways. It was up to the eye. It was the truth was in the eye of the beholder in this case. But after we learned there, okay, so here the jury was still out on what to do when you have a temporary sacrifice that is disqualified by a mourner, or if you have if it's a sacrifice of all generations that's disqualified for a mourner, if it's disqualified or not. That's the question here. The jury was out, and the Lubavitcher Rebbe is saying no, but there so here. After it was learned there that it was a mistake and the jury was in already later in the Parshat Matot, where it said what? In Parshat Matot, in the Leviticus chapter 31, verse 21. You can look at Leviticus 31:21, and you can see that there the law was decided. And that's why Moses became angry there. But here, that there he became angry because he had a legitimate reason to get angry, if there is such a thing. That it could be also explained here. I'm puzzled by the words of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Let me try to read it one more time. Okay, I'm going to say it again. that Moses became wroth with Elazar with the Tamar. In Parshat Matot, Rashi says he got angry because somebody gets. It says he doesn't say he got angry. It says became wroth because somebody who gets angry will make a mistake. But here it doesn't say that, so you can explain. In other words, it just says that Rashi says Moses turned to the sons Elazar and Itamar and got angry. So the answer the Rebbe gives is, so why is it different in these two places? So the Rebbe gives an answer. There is a difference between temporary sacrifices, like in the tabernacle, in the 8th day of the inauguration of the temple. These are one-time sacrifices, and sacrifices for all generations. And the difference is ambiguous, and Moses could be right, and Elazar and Itamar could be right, but just have differing opinions, because the law is not yet decided. So here, where it says Moses got angry, is because the law had not yet been decided, so it could have been either way, and there could be a real bona fide different dispute between the two. But not because one of them would made a mistake. But there, in Parshat Matot, it doesn't say he got angry, because you can't get angry when everything's clear to everybody. So that's why he says that it doesn't use the word anger there, but it does here. Everything is good? Good. Let's continue. Madua lo achaltem et hachatat b'makom hakodesh ki kodesh kodeshim hi va'ota natan lachem laset et avon ha'edah lechaper aleihem lifnei Adonai. Madua lo achaltem et hachatat b'makom hakodesh ki kodesh kodeshim hi ואתה נתן לכם לשאת את עוון העדה לכפר עליהם לפני אדוני. Why did you, Moses said to Elazar and Tamar, why didn't you eat the chatat, the sin offering, in a holy place? It's the Holy of Holies. And it was given to you in order to raise up and absolve the sin of the community, to atone for them before God. Rashi says, why didn't you eat from the sin offering in a holy place? But did they eat it? But they didn't eat it outside in a non-holy place. They burned it. So Rashi's puzzled by the very words in the verse. So why does the verse say in a holy place? But rather it's saying to them, he was asking a question. Moses was saying, maybe you went outside of the tabernacle, and in that way it became disqualified. He was asking. He wasn't saying. And then Moses said, it's the Holy of Holies, and Rashi says that if it's the Holy of Holies, and if you take it outside of the tabernacle or outside of the temple, it will be disqualified. And they said back to him, no, we didn't go out. So he said to them, since it's in a holy place, since you were in a holy place, why didn't you eat it? Why did you burn it? And then so the verse says, and it was given, Ve'otad natan lachem laset, it was given to you to raise up, meaning to absolve and to atone for the sins of the community. That the priests would eat the sacrifices, and when the priests eat the sacrifice, then the Jews who brought the sacrifice would receive atonement. By means of the priests eating the sacrifices, the Jew, you bring a sacrifice, you get it, you're atoned for. Your sin is forgiven. What kind of eating? What we do? Wouldn't that be great if we could eat something? I could eat something, and another person can be clean of any sin because I eat. Wow. So maybe there's a little bit of that with the Shabbos meal, because the Shabbos is I'm adding this. Rashi's not saying this. I'm adding this. That who am I and what am I to add something to Rashi? But perhaps it might be said that how is this applicable in our day? Because we're supposed to learn how to serve God from everything. Today, based on what we learn in the Torah, it's supposed to be a lesson for us how to serve God today. So maybe by following the Torah and and eating whole kosher food at the Shabbos table, with singing the Zmirot, singing the holy songs that we sing at the Shabbos table, written by the ancient rabbis. That maybe this act of keeping Shabbos, and because because the temple is not yet rebuilt, it should be rebuilt speedily in our days. But until then, we don't have an altar in the temple, but we have a table on Shabbos. We have a Shabbos table, and on the Shabbos table we eat kosher food, and we make brachas, and we sing, and we say words of Torah, and that is our temporary altar. That's the altar until the altar is reestablished. So by means of eating and enjoying the Shabbos and keeping the laws of Shabbos and serving God through eating on Shabbos, and perhaps even eating during the week in a holy way, that with the blessings before and after, and saying a word of Torah when we eat during our meals, that could actually, in a spiritual sense, cause atonement for the sins of Israel. I believe it is so. I believe with perfect faith that it is so. You eat in a holy way, you atone for not just for yourself, but you atone for others. And that hastens the redemption in the era of world peace. So the Rashi says on the verse, to atone for the sins of the community, that here we learn that the goat of the Rosh Chodesh, of the new moon, that was it. That was the goat of the Rosh Chodesh that would atone for the sin of defiling the temple and its vessels. Meaning, if somebody was in a state of impurity and they went into the temple, like a Kohen was impure and he went into the temple and did the service in the temple, that's a very serious sin. So they had a special sacrifice in case maybe somebody, as Kohen, didn't know he was tamei. He wasn't even aware that he had touched been come into the contact with a dead body or certain dead animals, or various. There are very many complex. It's fairly complex. There's a lot of different kinds of impurity that we don't really understand today, but it's all in the books. So it could be that a Kohen could become impure and he doesn't even know it and go into the temple. And all the more so if he goes in intentionally. But there was a sacrifice to fix this. And that sacrifice was the goat that was offered on the new moon. It was a sin offering, and it would atone for defiling the temple. And then, because the sin offering of the 8th day and the sin offering given by the prince Nachshon were not given in order to achieve atonement. They were given for other reasons. But the sin offering, the goat offering on the new moon, was in order to atone for the possibility of temple defilement. Verse 18. Hen lo huva tama el hakodesh pnima achol tochlu ota bakodesh kasher tziveti. Hen lo huva et tama el hakodesh pnima achol tochlu ota bakodesh kasher tziveti. Behold, it was not brought, its blood was not brought into the holy, inside, into inside the holy place of the tabernacle. The blood was slaughtered outside in the courtyard, but the blood was not brought in. You shall surely eat it in the holy place, as I commanded. Rashi says, behold, it was not brought in. Sorry. They were not brought. Sorry, they were not brought. They were not. They did not bring its blood into the holy. Sorry, they did not. No. Hen is hine. Behold. Sorry. Behold, they didn't bring. Behold, they didn't bring the blood into the holy. That's the proper translation. Behold, they did not bring the blood into the holy. Rashi says that if it was brought in, then you would have burned it. If you had brought the blood inside, then it would have been proper to burn it. As it is written above in verse 6, every sin offering that's brought, whose blood is brought, etc. It says to burn. But here, it wasn't brought inside, so it didn't need to be burnt. Then the verse says, Achol tochlu ota. Achol tochlu ota, you shall surely eat it. Rashi says, you shall surely eat it. You should have eaten it even though you're mourners, as I commanded you concerning the mincha offering. Verse 19. Vaydaber Aharon el Moshe hen hayom hikrivu et chatatam vet olatam lifnei Adonai vatikrena oti ka'ele va'achalti chatat hayom hayitav be'enei Adonai. Vaydaber Aharon el Moshe hen hayom hikrivu et chatatam ve'et olatam lifnei Adonai v'tikrena oti ka'ele v'achalti chatat hayom hayitav be'enei Adonai. And Aaron said to Moshe, still today, they can still bring the sin offerings today. And they can bring their burnt offerings before God. And call me, just as you called them. And I will eat the sin offering today. And it will be, is that going to be pleasing in the eyes of God? So there's a long Rashi here. Rashi says, when it says dibur, speech, they're using speak. Aaron spoke using the phrase, the word for speaking. There's a number of words to speak. There's to say, there's to speak. To speak is dibur. He says that only means it's a language of strength, as it says in the book of Numbers, chapter 21, and the people spoke, etc. See there to understand. Could be that Moses was wroth with Elazar, with Itamar, and that Aaron would come back and speak to him perhaps strength, meaning with brazen strength. So like Moses gets upset at his sons, then he gets upset at Moses, and it's one big happy family. I mean, what's going on here? So, did you know that it was only that they only, but they only were doing it in an honorable way. They were not shouting at each other like some low-life family. No, they were actually speaking to each other in a very honorable way. And they said, so you might think that the word vadaber, there was a language that could denote difficult things, maybe speaking in a difficult, harsh way, that Moses was being harsh with his sons and Aaron was being harsh with Moshe. No, Rashi says no, they were only being honorable, as it is said. Is it not according to justice that our Father sits and that we speak before him? And it's not according to justice that a student should answer his master. Could it be that Elazar didn't have what to say, what to answer? That's why it says in the Torah, in chapter 31, or verse 31, chapter 31, and Elazar, the priest, said to the army. So it doesn't use the word vaydaber, it uses vayomer. It's said in a soft language, just like you wanted to. So could it be that whenever you want, you speak in a harsh way to Moses and to the princes? No, of course not. This is all rhetorical. Rashi is speaking in entirely rhetorical language. No. So this is all, Rashi says this is all in the Sifri. So the verse says, we could offer it today. Aaron says, no, wait, it's okay, we can still offer it today, there's not a problem. So what is he saying? The Talmud says, but rather Moses said back to him, perhaps you sprinkled the blood as mourners, because the mourner who offered in the temple would disqualify. He's disqualified from serving in the temple. A priest can't offer in a state of mourning. So Aaron said back to him, did they offer it? No, they didn't offer it. They're not the high priest. This was a high priest offering. I offered it. I'm the high priest, and I offer it as a mourner because that's what you said to me. It wasn't them. They didn't offer it. So big misunderstanding going on here, right in the middle of the exactly half of the words of the Torah. Darosh, darash, dorosh, darash. Why is it when we get to the exact midpoint of the Torah, there's such a huge misunderstanding between Moses and Elazar and Itamar and Aaron? So it says, Aaron says, no, we can do it again and call me just like you called them. Rashi says, even if my sons had not died, because Nadav and Avihu had just died moments earlier. But my other relatives who I would have to mourn for, like these, like all those who are said in the passage talking about the Kohanim, the priests, where in Parshat Emor, where it talks about all the close relations that a priest cannot be defiled to bury if there's somebody else who can take care of the burial. If he's serving in the temple, somebody else takes care of it, and if not, he has to defile himself and not serve in the temple. That's what's taught in Parshat Emor. So he's saying, call me just like these. I'm going to read it again. Call me just like these. Even if my son... I misread it. Even if my two sons had not just died, but it was other relations, like for more distant relations, that I would be required to mourn them, just like these. Like all of those who are said in Parshat Emor, when it talks about who the Kohen cannot become disqualified for. Close relations. That's where we learn who we mourn for when the person dies. And what laws, when do we observe the laws of mourning? So, and I ate this, and I can eat the sin offering. I will eat the sin offering, Aaron says. And then he says, if I eat it, will that be well? Is it okay? So Aaron is very respectfully asking Moses about the procedure in the service. So it says today in the verse. It says, I can eat the sin offering today. If I ate the sin offering today, would it be pleasing in God's eyes? And Rashi says, what does it mean today? Today meaning dafka in the daytime, actually in the day. But meaning it would be forbidden for a mourner, a Kohen who is mourning, to offer a sacrifice in the day. But he said a mourning Kohen at night would be permitted. Because the onen, meaning it's really a special status of where, what's an onen? I'm going to explain. An onen is not any kind of mourner. An onen is when, if let's say a close relative dies and has not yet been buried. So the person was for instance, God forbid, a person loses his father or mother. So then, until the burial of the father or mother, that person is, for any mourner of a close relative, so a husband, wife, son, daughter, etc. Or if there's nobody else to bury the person, until the burial, the person required is exempt from any kind of positive commandment. He doesn't have to put on tefillin. He doesn't have to say the Shema. He just has to do everything he can that the person gets the close relative gets a proper burial. Or if there's nobody else to do it, then it's for any Jew. So would it be pleasing in God's eyes? If you heard about the temporary offerings in the temple, then why are you lenient with the offerings that are for all generations? That's the question that Aaron is asking here. Vayishma Moshe vayitav benav, Vayishma Moshe vayitav benav, and Moses heard, and it was pleasing in his eyes, and he liked what Aaron said. He said Aaron is correct. Rashi says, and it was good in his eyes. He agreed, and he was not, and Moses was not ashamed to say, "I did not hear." This is Rashi is quoting I believe it's in the Ethics of the Fathers, that who can be a judge? It's somebody who is not ashamed to say, "I did not hear," meaning I did not understand. So a judge in Israel has to be somebody who admits it when he doesn't get something. He doesn't always think he's right. So that Vayishma Moshe Vayitav benav.